It's a phrase that echoes in private conversations and dinner tables across some African immigrant households in the West. Don't date Black Americans. On the surface, it sounds harsh, almost self-hating, but behind it lies a complex web of historical trauma, cultural misperceptions, and generational misunderstandings. To understand where this warning comes from, we must look back at how Africans and African Americans have been shaped by very different histories, and how colonialism, slavery, and Western media have created a cultural divide between two peoples who share a skin tone, but not always a sense of unity. For many African immigrants, arriving in the U.S. means embracing the American dream, education, hard work, and upward mobility. These families often come from societies where identity is tied to tribe, language, and country, not race. So when they arrive in America and are automatically lumped into the category Black, it's a cultural shock. They quickly learn how anti-Blackness works in the U.S., but instead of identifying with African Americans, they sometimes internalize negative stereotypes pushed by media, seeing Black Americans as lazy, violent, or unambitious. These stereotypes didn't form in a vacuum. Decades of biased news reporting, Hollywood films, and systemic oppression have portrayed Black Americans in a one-dimensional light. African immigrants, unfamiliar with the legacy of slavery, Jim Crow, and mass incarceration, often don't understand that what they're seeing is the result of centuries of systemic disenfranchisement. Instead, they compare Black Americans' struggles to their own immigrant hustle and assume it's a difference in values, not history. On the flip side, many Black Americans feel that Africans look down on them. They hear the jokes, the mockery of their speech, or the term akata, a derogatory Nigerian slang word used to describe Black Americans as wild or uncultured. This deepens the divide. Black Americans may feel resentment toward Africans, who seem to enjoy the fruits of civil rights struggles they didn't fight for, while not showing solidarity with their cause. The tension becomes mutual, reinforced by misunderstanding, pain, and unspoken trauma. When African parents tell their kids not to date Black Americans, it's often a misguided attempt at protection. They fear their children will adopt behaviors they view as counterproductive or damaging, but these fears are rooted more in stereotype than reality. Many Black Americans are deeply educated, family-oriented, and culturally rich, values that overlap with African traditions. Yet the myth persists, passed down like an inherited warning, often without critical reflection. Colonialism plays a major role in this divide. European colonizers taught Africans to see themselves as better than the descendants of slaves. Missionary schools and colonial propaganda framed Africa as the motherland, but suggested that those stolen from it had become morally and culturally degenerate. This mindset, intentionally planted, has echoes today. Africans who grow up learning English with a British accent or studying European history may subconsciously internalize the idea that proximity to whiteness is superiority, even over their African American kin. But times are changing. A new generation of Africans and African Americans are beginning to bridge the gap. Pan-African festivals, social media, shared activism like BLM and NSARS, and DNA ancestry tools are opening. Eyes on both sides. Younger Africans are questioning their parents' views, asking, why not date someone who shares my history of survival and resistance? And many Black Americans are embracing their African roots, learning about Yoruba, Igbo, Ghanaian, and other heritages with pride rather than pain. In the end, the phrase, "Don't date Black Americans," is not just about dating. It's about healing a rift born not of hatred, but of history. The truth is, both communities have survived unimaginable hardship, colonization on one side, slavery on the other. Instead of suspicion, there could be solidarity. Instead of division, unity. The real question isn't whether Africans and African Americans should love each other. It's how much stronger we could all be if we finally did.